Do you have a list of attributes that you'd like your spiritual soulmate to have? Is this list in your head or on paper? Is it just a random list? Something you think you're aware of? Or is it a well-defined and thought-out list? Those are the three types of lists we use for creating the image of your spiritual soulmate. I guess the fourth type is not having one at all. If this is you, then you're right on schedule to attracting the same type of relationship as you've had in the past. You decide whether that's what you want or not. Hi, I'm Gail Marie from 6 Dimensions of Healing, and I've been a spiritual counsellor for over 22 years, helping people create wonderful soulmate relationships. Now remember to press the subscribe button and like this video. You can also follow along on Facebook. We have some great stuff happening there too, the link's below. Also share this video with someone who is looking for their spiritual soulmate. We all want to help someone be happy. A list doesn't automatically come from sitting down and formulating one. Most lists come from the past. They come from knowing what you don't want from the past, from all those painful encounters with people I'm sure you would rather leave in the past. Because of this, whether you know it or not, you actually do have a list. Even if it's more of a guide in your head, the reason you would want to define your list and put it on paper is so that you can use it as a guide to know whether you're moving in a direction you want to go or not. In other words, you want to be in control of your future and not that little voice inside your head that can often sound like a cracked record or a scratched CD, which repeats the same words over and over again. Here is the rundown on each of these three lists. So the first was having a random list, which means that when you meet someone, you'll need to decide at that time and in that moment whether that cute pattern of correcting you is a trait you're happy with or something that a person in the past repeated that annoyed you to the point of insanity. Are you finding those idiosyncrasies cute and caring, or is it just familiarity with mistaken identity? When you don't have a list, it won't be an easy relationship because the traits that seem familiar will set alarm bells off in your head, and you'll justify that this person is different from the last. Those alarms may be flashing, but because you hadn't defined a list, that familiarity could be mistaken as a substitute for a loving relationship. So what could be happening is that you're noticing familiar patterns, and instead of using them as a warning sign, they're interpreted as a cozy, familiar, quirky habit. Having a random list is like playing Russian roulette, and the odds are not in your favour that you'll win in attracting your spiritual soulmate. When your list is number 2, something you think you're aware of, you're usually aware of all those things that you don't want. The past gestures or the annoying habits, the demeaning behaviour, how you felt lousy, the way you felt insecure around your old partner. You're acutely aware of all those things you didn't like in the past relationships and are probably really determined not to repeat them. In fact, you're so aware of what you don't want that you feel angry about it, and that's understandable. You know that when you find someone with those traits that you'll run a mile, and you do. The problem with this list is that you're so aware of what you don't want that what you don't want is still active in your vibration. How this translates is that you actually attract more of what you don't want. So when you say there are no great soulmates left in the world for me, then you're right. Because with this inner list active, all you're going to find are people that fit your list, the list you don't want but are very aware of. You aren't even ever going to attract a spiritual soulmate with this list active in your vibration, not even if you write it on paper, because it actually becomes an affirmation, not an affirmation of what you don't want, because that doesn't exist, an affirmation of what you're vibrating, which is your dominant mood, whether it's anger, fear, insecurity. Whatever your dominant mood, it becomes your point of attraction. You attract more of this mood. The last list is the third. It's a well-designed and thought-out list. You design a list to define what you want, define what you don't want, and refine what you do want. This list isn't an internal one. It's a written list. In fact, it's 2 lists. List 1 is on the first of 2 sheets of paper. Firstly, write down all the traits that you don't want, the ones we were talking about. They're the ones from the past relationships that you'd really like to avoid repeating, and it's okay to do that. You can focus on these unwanted traits for a little while because we're going to move on, so they won't get stuck in your vibration. We'll pick them out of the spider's web one by one. Get right into all those things you don't like and list them all. List 2 on another sheet. The next part is to write down all the traits you do want. You know, the closeness, the feeling like you're meant to be together, the enjoyment of spending time together, the laughter, the attraction, walks in the sunset, traveling together. All that. Be specific and include a lot. Write it as if you're describing a scene in a movie. Use emotion. Really get the feel of it and immerse yourself in it. This is a dream you're creating, so take time in the creation and refining of this scene. You can refine over the days and even over the months to come. You can include physical traits, if you like, a touch, a body type, eyes, hair, physical attributes, personality. Bearing in mind that planning is essential, but plans aren't important, which means that your dream won't unfold exactly as you plan it. The plan is there to stimulate a new mood and create a new vibration. Burn the first list. Do a ceremony, cremate it, let go of everything to do with it, hand it over to the universe, or do the clearing and amplifying meditation. Then sign and date list number 2, the list of attributes you do want. This wish list is your commitment to you. Then put it away and go about your life. This is actually an internal fork in the road, and you're creating a new path. This is the path that leads you to attracting your spiritual soulmate. There are a couple of rules. Number 1, mind your mood. So be as happy as you can, as often as you can. And number 2, don't look for evidence. This can be your undoing. Whenever you look for evidence of something and don't find it, you've just redirected yourself back down the path of lack. So don't do it. Whenever you find yourself checking to see if it's working, go back to rule number 1, mind your mood, feel as good as you can, as often as you can. So let me know below what an important attribute is that you'd like in your spiritual soulmate. What's a non-negotiable trait for you? I know I had some.